Continuing our series of special reports, the lost year, setbacks and successes. Tonight highlighting high school sports.
16 News Now sports reporter Megan Smedley joins us now with how high school sports bounce back from an unprecedented year. Megan?
If you love sports, March 11th, 2020 is ingrained in your mind. Fans were banned from March Madness, and the NBA went on an indefinite pause after Rudy Gobert tested positive. And that was just the beginning. The shockwaves rippled through all of sports. Everything from youth sports to high school and college to pros was canceled within 48 hours. But the sports world persevered. High school teams and athletes rode that roller coaster and did whatever it took to live out their dreams.
It was a little discouraging at first.
As a coach, you could always say, hey, it can be taken away at any moment.
And this is why you can't take things for granted.
It was just really a matter of adjusting literally weekly and sometimes daily.
Guiding a team through a pandemic isn't in any playbooks. The Indiana boys basketball tournament was heading into regionals when everything came to a standstill. Culver Academies had won its sectional and was ready to continue fighting.
My favorite team, my best team, maybe my favorite player on that team, so that was tough.
His favorite player, his son Trey, Culver's all-time scoring leader. But all of a sudden, the father-son duo had played their final game together without even knowing it.
I told him, I said, even though it wasn't a state championship, you still got to climb up on a ladder, cut down nets, take your jersey off for the last time, and know that, you did everything you could to try and, win your last game.
Just 6 days after regionals were postponed, Hoosier hysteria was officially called off.
I was still hopeful that we would try and get something in, even if it was late in the spring or in the summer.
Girls in Indiana were more fortunate. Their tournament ended in late February before the shutdown, but teams were already itching to start preparing for next season.
My thought was, we're going to take a couple weeks off, and when the finals end, we're going to get right back in the gym. Didn't happen like that.
The Washington girls basketball team was on the rise, but wasn't able to practice until early fall.
And if you're not on the same page, it's hard, and you have to have that gym, I think, to land where you want to when fall rolls around. Man, that killed us.
We had a few transfers, so we didn't even know half of our team before season started. So, we've bonded really mostly during the season, I would say, which is pretty crazy.
And once the Panthers got back to playing, there were adjustments, from huddles during timeouts.
I'm used to having people right in front of me, and they're everywhere. So now I'm talking loud and everybody can hear what I'm saying. And I'm like, well, I don't want the other team to hear me, but I have to talk that loud.
To smaller crowds.
When one person gets hyped, the whole gym gets hyped, and it's really loud. But, I kind of miss that, but I've been fortunate to even play and have somewhat of a crowd.
It's taken some getting used to for the Eagles, too.
Going to practice is, again, I think it's an exciting opportunity for our kids to get to do that.
Culver Academies has some of the strictest protocols in place. Winter athletes are tested twice a week. The team practices and competes wearing masks. They ask their opponents to also wear face coverings or take a rapid test. Because of that, CMA has only played a handful of games this season.
I want to keep kids safe and adults safe, but at the same time, basketball and sports are really, really important to kids. I also want to fight for the ability to get to practice and get to play games, and I will continue to try and do that in the safest way possible.
In Michigan, the journey back has been even more of a roller coaster.
We got shut down 3 different times and finally finished the season in the middle of January in the snow. I would say we've been in football season for 6 months and in football mode for about 9.
A dizzying 9 months. On August 14th, Michigan football was moved to the spring. But then on September 3rd, fall football was back, with games kicking off September 18th. Players had to be masked while on the sidelines and in the game.
The biggest problem with those was they kind of restricted your vision in order to see things down by your feet. So made it a little bit dangerous doing that. But once again, it was a regulation we had to abide by in order to play.
Still, sports were suspended again on November 15th, right in the middle of fall playoffs. Teams finally got the green light to resume the fall on December 28th.
I don't think anybody ever gave up. Was a frustration level there daily. Being creative and keeping kids excited about it and motivated, that was the most difficult task.
This time around, players were tested 3 times a week before school. taking a mental and emotional toll.
They would sit there for their 10, 15 minutes each day worried if they had COVID, and we'd call them individually up and let them know if they're staying the day or if they're going home. It was a terrible process. It was I understand that it let us play, but what a terrible way to do it for them, though.
The Eddies eventually lost in the state semifinals, fighting hard until the end.
If you're going to go into a season where you have to face adversity and you've got to have all these challenges that brought with COVID, I could not have had a better group of dedicated kids.
But the challenge to get back on the field was not the only thing weighing on athletes' minds around Michiana. They also had to be thinking about their futures. Would some still get the chance to play in college?
I was never worried that the recruiting process would stop. Like, you know, if a school really wanted me, like they would find a way. And, you know, if I wanted them back, I would find a way too.
Washington Panthers star Mila Reynolds was in the middle of her recruiting process last spring, gaining attention across the Big Ten, including the University of Maryland.
They were one of the schools that really stayed consistent through that time we're, you know, going into COVID, obviously. And more Mila started to talk, probably around May, like, look, I think this is it. Now, mind you, we haven't gone on a visit. You know, we can't get out, anything.
Reynolds got the official offer from the Terps in the late spring. Then it was decision time.
And we were ready to pull back, you know, if we felt like it was too much pressure. And, you know, we weren't really scared or anything, but at the same time, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
You know, I love their coaches. We bonded right away. You know, Maryland's a top school, obviously.
She verbally committed in July. Now Mila is enjoying the rest of her high school career and is getting ready for regionals and has a different outlook on her game that many athletes share.
It really has shown me, like, to really appreciate, like, what we have now. You never know when it could, like, disappear, or, you know, you don't even have the chance to even play it at a certain point in time.
Mila says she's grateful that she had a winter season in Indiana. Now, Michigan winter sports were just given the green light to compete this week. Athletes are required to wear masks during practices and games unless they test negative on game day. In the studio, Megan Smedley for 16 News Now.